Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Free the Founder. And today I have an exciting guest. His name is Jason Schemmel of Get Social Done. We got a lot to talk about today, a lot of planned. But first, Jason, thanks so much for being on here. It's a Friday. We got a lot going on. We're heading into the weekend, but really appreciate your time. How you doing, man?
Not too bad. I'm excited for the weekend. It's Labor Day weekend. Always a time to just kind of sit back and relax, but I'm excited to be here.
Good, man. Yeah. Well, I'm very excited to have you. And I was doing some research that we'll get into. And as I always kind of start these interviews with, I really like learning about where you came from, right? So can you tell us just a little bit? Where'd you grow up? How'd you grow up? What was early life like? And then I kind of want to, put that against where you're at now.
Sure, yeah. So it's actually really funny because, and I'll get into it without going over as much as I can. But
Yeah.
growing up, I'm the oldest of three boys. My younger brothers are 8 and 12 years younger than me. So I always like to joke with people that it took my parents 8 years to figure out what all was wrong with me before deciding to have another. So
Okay. Yeah.
take that for what it's worth.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
But yeah, did that. Growing up, I was a big hockey fan. My friends got me involved in it in 5th grade, and I've never looked back. I was a major hockey fanatic, legit fanatic, all through high school. I went to a Catholic high school. I went public school all the way to high school, and then went to Catholic school where I didn't know anybody. But we had dress code and everything. And then once a month, we got to wear jeans where we could dress down a little bit. Every time I would wear a Red Wings jersey. I'm from Michigan. I'm not born in Grand Rapids, but grew up in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Did you? Wait, okay. So I should have asked that first off camera when we were talking. I have a really good friend. He's actually from there. He moved since to where I'm at. But
Okay.
what an area, dude. Yeah, a lot of people, and it's always interesting when somebody mentions they went to private school and not public, or they make that differentiation. To me, it always says something about the bubble or the area you grew up in.
Yep.
Would you say that, being an only child for 8 years and were you guys privileged? Did you feel privileged? Were you more, cutting your teeth? What was the childhood like?
I'd say we were very like average middle class. Like every parent does, they try and do what's best for their kids. Like I played a lot of like t-ball and extracurricular activities. I had friends in my neighborhood, stuff like that. My dad always made sure I had a video game system. So that's where my love of video games comes from. We had an Intellivision, which is the knockoff Atari starting out, then was Nintendo, Sega Genesis, PlayStation, all of that. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I was never bored. There was always options, but I wouldn't say that we came from money.
Got it. Okay, cool. And of course, that's going to become relevant because as entrepreneurs, one of the main driving factors, right, obviously, is it's one of the knocks on the scoreboard. Did you play Wayne Gretzky 3D hockey? Did you play N64?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I opted for the PlayStation because I had a friend who had a 64, and yeah, we played Star Fox,
those.
Mario, and but a lot of Wayne Gretzky 3D hockey, and those goalies were terrible.
Dude,
They were terrible.
It was always a nice little cheat. You could we'd play multiplayer and skate into it and then shoot it on the other side.
Yep.
So
Oh yeah.
finding the cheats. Well, cool, man. Okay, well, awesome. That's good to know. And as a kid, did you ever have an inkling that you would be an entrepreneur? Was there any
No.
early? Okay.
Not at all. And especially being the oldest and all of that. Like I was brought up to follow rules. I was brought up to, don't question authority, don't push back. It's just whatever we tell you. This is the way it is. Follow the rules, do as you're told, kind of thing. And so I was like that for the longest time. I would say up until at least my mid 20s is when I started getting that itch a little bit. I would say early to mid 20s is when I started opening my eyes to the possibilities of entrepreneurship. That I didn't even know this was possible. I just thought it was your standard upbringing. You go to school, you do the work, you take the tests, and then you get your diploma, you go to college, and then you go find a job and you work there for 20, 30 years. And as we're seeing now in 2025, that college degree is becoming less and less valuable, obviously depending on your area of expertise or your studies, but it definitely seems like it's losing its value over time.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, the value of it to the outside world. I'm a big believer in the critical thinking part, so I think that obviously is always going to be valuable of taking that time. But yeah, there's a lot of adult daycare and paper holding at the end of that. I totally agree.
All it feels like now is just like I got my name on a paper that says I did the time, and keywords there, I did the time.
Yep, no doubt. Well, again, so all the stuff you talked so far, I'm thinking Halo in the dorms, at least, and the LAN parties or whatever. Yeah, so all that's a thing. But look, I kind of want to then follow the rules thing, because I think that's an interesting thread in comparison of where you started and where you are today. And I understand that for what it was about 7 years, if I did my research correctly, that you were actually in retail and sales jobs. So you were kind of trying to find your way in.
Yep.
So I don't know, talk to me about that, because that had to have built up something in you that eventually made you get to that transition. So what did you work? What did you do retail and sales?
Yep. So, and I love talking about this because it shows just like the natural progression of how it got me here today. Because, right after high school, my very first job was at a family-owned pizzeria, just making subs, doing dishes and stuff like that. When I was 16, went to a video store, back when we still had VHS tapes. I'm really dating myself now. Back in the day.
Right there with you. Yeah.
Right. But then eventually, it was right around August, September time, something like that. And Best Buy was my favorite store, outside of Toys R Us at the time as well. I'm like, oh, let's throw an application there, just kind of see what happens. Cause the video store is not going to go anywhere. I was making $6.50 an hour at the time, something like that. Granted, this is like early 2000s. So.
Sure.
But yeah, threw an application there and they're like, yeah, we're hiring our seasonal people. Come on in. And my jaw dropped. I'm like, I get to work at Best Buy. This is awesome. It was like, I was a kid in my toy store talking about my toys. And occasionally I worked for the discount because I didn't come home with a paycheck.
Gotcha. Yeah. Nice. I guess what I'm getting at too. So like, was there any moments within that, a twofold question. One, when you're doing the sales on the floor of retail and that sort of thing, was there a spark? I mean, where did the spark come from? That's what I want to know. I do know you started a startup called Enterprizer, and I do want to get into that. But where did the spark come from? Do you have a memory?
The spark really came from my desire to help people. And I've known since I was before high school and all that stuff, I was a person that loved helping others. Part of it probably came from helping, in a sense, as much as a kid can, help raise my brothers and all that stuff. Did a lot of babysitting, changing diapers, all of that stuff. Yeah. But then in the retail side of it, especially in Best Buy, I first started out as a cashier, worked my way out onto the sales floor. And a common thing that I hear other people say is, that's not my department. I don't know. That's not my department. I'm like, well, let's use a little bit of empathy here, put ourselves in the customer's shoes. And like, do they want to hear that's not my department? Or do they want to hear, I'm sorry, I can't help you, but let me help you get to that next step at least. Let me at least connect you to someone who might be able to help you, because I can't, but I want to help you. And this is the best way that I can help you. And so I started doing that. And I realized over time that I myself would have repeat customers. I would have people coming into the store and they would only want to talk to me because they felt like I had their best intentions at heart rather than just trying to make the sale. Where a lot of the sales managers and stuff would say, hey, our margins are down, or, we haven't sold enough accessories or warranties or anything like that. Like, we need to start pushing those. I'm like, I'm only going to mention those if it makes sense for this person. If they just bought a new, like the new Xbox 360 that came out, I'm going to say, hey, for 30 or 40 bucks, however much it was, to cover this thing for 2 years. If anything happens to this, which Red Ring of Death, that was a thing, you can bring it in and we'll replace it at no additional cost. That saved people a ton of money. I had so many people coming in saying, thank you for talking me into this. It was so valuable. I'm like, I know, because well, first off, I did my research, but again, it always felt good to help people because I would give them the service that I would expect in return. And that's what really sparked the idea of entrepreneurship, and it's just being there helping others.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I guess we'll just kind of bump down your story and start getting to some of the good stuff, because as I understood, you launched a startup not too long after. And so that was Enterprizer. Is that correct? Yes. Enterprizer was your startup.
Yep. It's vowelly challenged.
Well, yeah. No, but connecting businesses with students and trying to get students to gain experience. So kind of a cool concept. What happened with that, and what'd you learn?
Yep. I started fast and I crashed even faster is probably the best way I can describe that. And really it was my first big step into entrepreneurship, doing something on my own. The idea itself came from a friend of mine, and he had me help him work on it a bit. And then this idea pitch competition in Grand Rapids, at the time it was called 5x5. I think it's now called Start Garden. put on by one of the Van Andel families or the DeVos families. I can't remember which one, but the big names in our area. But it was an idea pitch competition. And I put it in there. I had helped other friends win before because they would always let 2 people win per month. One that was voted by the judges of the organization itself, and then another one was public vote. Well, me being someone who loves to help others, very social media focused and everything, I'm like, I'm going to help some of my friends who have these ideas get funded because I like helping people. So I helped a few people, get funded and all of that stuff. The seed money was $5,000, nothing to sneeze at. And then I'm like, okay, I have this thing called Enterprizer. I asked my friend if I could take it and run with it because he was busy with college and stuff. He goes, yeah, like you have my blessing, go for it. So put it in there, talked to my friends. They helped me promote it, advertise it and all that stuff. We won the public vote. So I got the $5,000 and the whole concept of it was basically Craigslist, but for entrepreneurs and startups and college kids. For entrepreneurs, it's always, I have this idea, I have technology that I need to do, or I have these things that I need to get done, but I don't have the resources to pay top dollar to get this done professionally, but I still need it done so I can progress the project. And then same thing on the flip side with the students, it's always I just graduated, but I can't get a job in my field because I don't have experience. But how can I get experience if I can't get the job? Right. I have this diploma. I have this paper, this my name on a paper that says I did the time, but I don't have anything that will let me show off my skills or anything. Everything nowadays, entry level position, but you have to have 2 years of experience at least in this field and all that stuff. It's ridiculous. I thought, well, let's just marry the two. Let's have them work on like an internship or just very low cost basis. Entrepreneurs get the projects done. Students get the referrals and the expertise or the experience that they need. And it's a win-win situation for everyone. That's what I love doing. So I built I had a friend help me build it looked like Craigslist. It's the best way to put it. I'm like, go ugly first. As long as it's functional, I don't care. As long as it works. So we put it together, and then that's when I realized the mountain of work that would need to be done, because it became chicken and egg. Do I go after businesses first to start building up that side of the platform, or do I go after students first and try and build up that side? Try doing both at the same time while I'm working a full-time job. And long story short, I got burnt out. I'm spinning. I don't know where I'm going and stuff. And I just let it fizzle out.
Got it. Well, I mean, it's cool that you kind of dipped your toe into platform type business model, because, it still is, but especially at that time, right? That's when it was all getting started. So you're kind of in front of the curve with that. And, but it takes tremendous effort to get those, that flywheel going. Oh my gosh, I can only imagine. And then at the end of the day too, I also, in my early days, right, doing business, I did use interns. And while it was great labor, man, like how intense you have to be for many of those interns to actually get them to be productive. It's it just feels like not a huge long-term retention. So I imagine, I don't know, like what did you learn from that? Like, yes, you had to put the time just from thinking, here's my hypothetical idea, to actually implementation and seeing a few of those. Just what was kind of your final takeaway in that experience?
Yeah, my biggest takeaways was having an implementation plan at least in mind before you start. Because for me, I was like, let's just start and we'll figure it out as we go. That's worked well for me before, especially in the retail stuff. Someone comes at you with a project, like, how are you going to do this? I'm like, I'm not sure, but I'll figure it out as I go. So I tried it with this, and it's like, oh man, as I'm trying to figure it out as I go, I'm like, I still like to have a little bit of sanity. What's left of it, anyways? All that. Man. So
yeah, sanity is overrated, man.
Yeah, right. Well, now I know that many years later. But
do you have kids? Do you have kids now?
Yeah, I do. I have 2.
2? Okay. Yeah, I've got 4. You probably saw one. They're pretty notorious coming in here and not listening. But yeah,
same as mine. Oh yeah. If they weren't at my in-laws right now, I'd have one of them going, Can I talk to Brett on the camera?
Yeah. Well, we'd be glad to have him. Maybe next guest.
Right. There we go.
Yeah. Right. Well, we'll do a joint show upcoming, and
family edition.
Yeah. Family feud, family edition. We'll it's not a bad idea, actually. Do you know how to make a platform like Craigslist for that? Maybe that's an idea somewhere. Get your kids started. Boy, in this age, man, too, just as a side note, dude, I like, and we'll get back on track, but AI, and I know that's going to be a huge topic we're going to talk about. That's what you do a lot of. You are an expert in that sort of thing, but I'm kind of scared for our kids' future in some ways of where AI is going.
It's an interesting place to be. We live in very interesting times right now. If you're familiar with the Chinese proverb, may you live in interesting times.
No, huh?
It's I forget if it's more commonly known as it's either a Chinese proverb or a Chinese curse. It's like, may you always get what you ask for, and may you live in interesting times. And that can be, and as we know, that can go either way. May you always get what you ask for. It's like, we also know the parable, be careful what you wish for, because you just might get it, whether you actually want it or not. Same thing with live in interesting times. Right now, I'd say we're at the pinnacle of living in interesting times, because we have AI, which, at least to me, this is my own personal opinion, but we are experiencing the next technological advancement since the introduction of the internet. You think back in the day before we had AOL, before AOL was sending CDs in the mail and everything like that. We never, we didn't have, welcome, you've got mail, like our first notification that whole sound and everything. Now we can't picture going a day without going online in some capacity, whether that be social media, website, Google, AI, and all that stuff. Now we have AI, which AI, artificial intelligence, has been around since the 50s, 60s, something like that. But because of the advancements now, we hear AI, we immediately think ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, Claude, all of those. Like, we're already in the middle of that shift, and seeing, even seeing use cases in students in schools and colleges and stuff. Someone recently did a study where they're like, let's look at ChatGPT's usage over the past year, and right at about May or June, there's a massive drop off because all the schools were out.
Wow. Yeah. What does that say, dude? That is going to be interesting. Because I know in my academic career, I totally would have used it. I would have found a way.
Oh, 100%.
100%. And what would that have done to the? So I can't lie, man. It's going to be an interesting time. But you're right. We're in the Wild West. And I'm really excited also to just pick your mind on what you're doing with it, because you are doing some amazing things and towing that direction. Before we can get there, we got to know about how you got into marketing, right? Very unique field. We both know that. And especially at that time, the pace of that was really quick. So you are a cowboy in your own right. And we're kind of so how did you get into it? I understood it was you got a job in Christian publishing company. Is that correct?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep. So I'll take it one step back further from there. So college for me was community college here in Grand Rapids. So I don't have a 4-year degree, never went to a 4-year school, anything like that. But I have an associate's degree from our community college. The business professor there, I believe he leads the business department now. His name is Felix. Amazing guy. He really opened my eyes to what entrepreneurship and business could actually be like out in the real world. We always hear, you see the textbooks, you read the textbooks, and like, here's how business is supposed to happen. You read the stories and the keywords and all that stuff, take the test and everything. What I loved about his classes, he had at least 5 or 6 in the business program there, was he came at it as an actual business meeting. So the first day of class, he broke us up into 4 groups and said, okay, group 1, you're in charge of chapter 1, group 2, chapter 2, so on and so forth. And so it was up to us to work together as a team to become the experts on our chapter, come up with a presentation. We could bring in outside things, or create diagrams and things like that, but we had to come prepared to present like a business meeting. And then as we go through, he would stop us where he felt, we may have been a little bit light touching on a subject or miss something altogether, and go, okay, this is what the book says. This is what's actually going to happen, because he had real life experience. He ran his own business consulting firm. So that was hugely important for me, because it opened my eyes to, okay, not everything is black and white as it appears in the book. And then I got to see that in the retail side of it too, working for the 3 or 4 different companies that I worked for. I'm like, oh, that's right. Like, nepotism actually really does exist. You can see it clear as day with this manager and this worker and all of that stuff. Yeah. So that's what started getting me interested in marketing. And then how I got the job at, it was HarperCollins Christian Publishing. They're a major publisher in the US, was really kind of out of happenstance. I was literally live tweeting about the Olympics. And I was working for a grant funded project at one of the local universities, trying to get my way in so I could get the 4-year degree at a discount. Never happened, obviously, but I was sitting there live tweeting, talking about like NBC's terrible coverage. Like, I want to see this sport, not that sport, blah, blah, blah. And someone else had noticed me and said, hey, like, you seem to have kind of a thing for this whole Twitter thing. So I'd started tweeting about marketing articles and just my 2 cents about it, like what other people could take valuable lessons from this article so they don't have to read the whole thing. They're like, hey, you seem to have a knack for this. My boss knows that there's this temp position at this publishing company as a social media manager. Would you be interested? I'm like, heck yeah, I would. Let's give it a shot. I'm like, I get paid to be on social media. That's the new edition of being at the toy store talking about my toys at Best Buy, right? So So I interviewed for it. They said, you don't have any experience, any like experience I can put on my resume or anything like that. But like, how would you stand out? How would you do things? And I'd already been a part of some groups, some local groups talking about social media, talking about marketing. I'm like, here, this is how I do things. If I have a question about anything, I already have this network of people that I can lean on to get their advice and everything. And my supervisor took a chance on me, and I ended up staying there for 7 years in the same role, being the social media manager of their Bibles department, managing upwards of 5 different brands simultaneously. They're organic and they're paid content.
Wow.
So
No
yeah,
kidding.
it was,
wow.
You want to talk about like trial by fire? That was it.
Well, I mean, first off, good thing if you have God on your side, that
it tends to work out. Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. And
No complaints there.
Are you practicing? Was it just kind of you did it for the job, or is that part of you?
It was a little bit of both. I mean, at the time I was doing it just more for the job. I'm like, an opportunity just literally fell in my lap because I was tweeting about the Olympics, but I would have taken any company if they said, hey, do you want to be on social media for us and we can pay you to do it? I would have said yes, but It just happened to be them. And 7 years late, 7 years with them. So it was great.
Well, and how much did you use and apply those skills just earlier? Just curious, because that seemed to be a big part of the thread of helping people, like always being willing to go above and beyond and having people come back to you. Because I feel like there's a shade of that personality type that probably applied to not only getting you through that process, but probably your success in figuring that out.
I'd like to think so, because when I went into the role, I started analyzing all of the different pages that they had, how they were doing content. And it was typical stuff that I still see today across several companies, corporate level, all the way down to startups, where a lot of them just talk about, this is who we are. This is what we offer. If you're interested in this, come talk to us. And it's just, you're just adding to the noise. You're not differentiating. There's nothing about you that differentiates yourself from your competition outside of your name, your product, and your price. That's it. Yeah. So in my research, when I started onboarding with them, I noticed that they were doing the same thing. And so I brought it to my supervisor and said, hey, like, I can keep this content going just for corporate sake, keeping the managers happy and the higher ups happy and all that stuff. But what if we gave at least a couple of these pages a personality? Let's try and create some content that made the audience feel like we were one of them. And we just happened to be talking about this common ground thing, which was this community page. It was called Bible's Questions and Answers, because we had a Bible product at the time called the Bible Q&A. And it was, for me as a social media manager, I loved it because this thing was just chock full of different questions on passages. Like you get to Psalms, like 32 verse 5 and 6 or something like that. And we go, okay, it's highlighting this, but what did he really mean when this happened or something like that? And it would give you the answer. I'm like, this is fantastic. Here's easy content. I can just use this and then go, oh, hey, by the way, if you're interested in, this came from a Bible product. So here it is. And we actually did a decent amount of sales from doing that stuff. And it's like, that's when I noticed that, again, trying to put the customer first instead of the company first. I mean, obviously you want to have the company in mind as you're doing things, but having the customer or your audience first is going to make the biggest difference. Because if you make it feel like you're talking to them rather than at them, it makes worlds of difference. Yeah.
And I've heard that. And it's funny, that kind of pairs with the quote I found from you. And I won't nail it perfectly, but something down to the likes of it all comes down to compelling storytelling and highlighting the value you offer and not just your features, right? Features in this could be interpreted talking about you. Is that something you, I mean, it sounds like is that something today you still champion? I mean,
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean the value that you provide is really how you separate yourself from everyone else. You take anyone from the service industry, like roofers. Like, okay, you're all selling the exact same thing. It's roofing materials and roofing labor. But how can you differentiate yourself from the 10 others that are in your area, no matter where you are? Well, pricing is always one way, but everyone knows that if you get into a pricing war, nobody wins. You're going to cut your margins just to try and get that job. There's service, there's product, there's quality of products and all of this stuff. But what it's really going to come down to is that personal connection that you're going to have with them that, I mean, we know AI isn't going to have. So there's one job that's not going to get taken. But it still comes down to the human to human interaction and what you can do for them that's different from your competition. It doesn't have to be something massively different. You don't have to recreate the wheel or anything like that. It's just, how can you present yourself in a different way, from a different perspective, even just a little bit? That's going to help you stand out from everyone else.
Got it. So back again to that thread of you being in the store and customers coming back to you saying, hey, I need help with this. And you're always thinking above. I see the thread of that, the storytelling, right? Being one of them and always being helpful. Well, amazing, man. And so you've talked about this, and I also know your first GSD brand, you did a podcast. And I don't know if this was simultaneous, and it was kind of funny parallel to me. You went from, Christian publishing company, and then you started a podcast called Getting Shit Done. I don't think you said, I think the star on the I, but
it was implied, but I still say it. I'm crass. I swear sometimes. We're all adults.
Hey, we're all human. Yeah, it only is it's a degree of emphasis, right? How do you know?
Yes,
right?
pretty much.
A lot of that is. Well, and on that podcast, you looked at Twitch streaming. I don't know what was that like. Do you still do that podcast, by the way? Is that something you still do?
Off and on. I really want to do it. I really want to lean into it more when I have free time.
Yeah. Believe me. Yeah.
Yeah, like I've got a couple other projects that are higher priority, but it's still something on the back burner that eventually I want to come back to, because like you're doing, I love getting people on and having them tell their stories. What can we learn from them? And that's what I loved about GSD, was just that it was just talking to people like, how do you get shit done? Yep. And the way that I made it and the way that I talked to people, I always liked, because it was, let's talk about your successes first. How do people know you? Because some people I had on the show were people that no one probably ever heard about. Others have this very big brand on social media and websites and all of that. So they've sold books, they've been on commercials, all of that stuff. So the first part of the episode was always talking about, how do people know you? How about your successes? How did you get into this? That kind of thing. But then after that, we flip the script and go, okay, let's talk about stuff that people don't normally talk about, and talk about the challenges, the struggles, the roadblocks, the imposter syndrome, all of that stuff. Like, first off, like, did you ever experience imposter syndrome? Everyone does. Everyone still does. Even super successful people. It's so easy for us to put very successful people up on this pedestal. Like we look at like Alex Hermosi right now. He's modern generation Gary Vaynerchuk or Tony Robbins now, it feels like. Yeah. Even people of that status, they still deal with imposter syndrome, like they're not enough. And for me, that was always eye-opening. For every person that I talked to, is like, holy cow, like, even though I'm feeling this myself because I don't feel I'm where I want to be, here's these successful people where I'm sitting here looking at them going, it'd be so cool to be at their level. Like, I feel like I'm way down here, they're way up here, and they still have imposter syndrome. Like, they're not enough. And so for me, that was always eye-opening. And so I always wanted to share that story with others.
Yeah, I do think that is a critical and important point, because you're right. Everyone, in fact, I had a client this morning voice note me being like, I don't deserve to be here, and just pouring it out. And my go-to for that, and one of the references, have you read that book, Psycho Cybernetics? Are you familiar with Max Maltz's work? It's a good one.
I'm not. I got to write that one down.
Yeah, definitely check it out. And it's just it was my first foray. I've always been a logical person, very like black and white. This is the way the world is, evidence based. And then reading that, it kind of just tweaked my the way I see things. But anyway, yeah, perception is everything. And I think the perception you have with yourself, it is a tough battle, man. Do you still struggle with that?
Oh, every day.
Yeah.
Every single day. Let me give it to you this way. I have been in social media and marketing for the past 14, 15 years, something like that. Everyone I talk to, all of my clients, I'm always telling them, you need to create more content. Not like Gary Vaynerchuk level where you're posting like 20 times a day, but get in the habit of posting at least 5 times a week, just once a day. If you could do once a day, you're leaps and bounds higher and further along than most other people. But it's all about getting attention and building that awareness so that you can build that trust that eventually leads to sales, conversions, whatever it is you want to do. As the social media marketing guy with the background and everything, I still struggle creating content every single day. It is a struggle. I use AI to help me come up with topics of like, what the heck am I going to talk about today? I don't even know. So yes, I do.
I totally feel it. And that's another reason podcast is nice, because it gives you that reason and it kind of gets your brain. And by the way, you're firing some gems today, man. It's getting my brain going. So really appreciate that. I'll have plenty of content for this next week. And
I'm always happy to help.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, hey, you said it, so don't be surprised if I'm blowing you up, right? Well, tell me too. So you are very good at articulating thoughts. To me, that's always someone who is a writer. That makes a lot of sense in the content realm. And I also understand that, You volunteered at Content Marketing World, which is a pretty big event. That was in 2019? Again, if I'm following the timeline right. Or you volunteered and then you actually became a speaker. That I think was the capstone. Well, what was that like? Like, how did that transition happen, and how did they realize, hey, we got someone we got to throw up?
That was so cool. I started attending the event. That was still when I was working for the publishing company. They said, I get to go to one conference a year. They had the budget for it. I'm like, all right, I'm going to find something that's closer to home so that we don't have to worry about travel budget or anything like that. And then Content Marketing World started getting on my radar. Found out they had a Twitter chat, which if you haven't done those before, they would pick 1 hour on a day every week, and they would have their specific hashtag. For them, I think it was either CM World or CM Chat or something like that. For content marketing chat, that kind of thing. And they would just talk about a specific topic. They might have like a featured speaker, and then just the social media manager would have every 10 minutes would just put a question out there, and then everyone would respond to it. And then it would just generate this very long dialogue over Twitter. Granted, it got overwhelming at times, like so many notifications, so many things. So like, okay, I've got to respond to that one. I want to respond to that one. This person responded to me. I want to keep that conversation going, that kind of thing. But for me, it was a lot of fun. The ADHD brain, I'm like, I got this. I can do that. But
yeah.
But I started participating in that a lot just so I understood who the players were, what they were talking about. And I got to learn so much because people were like, oh, this topic, this question, this is what's worked for me. This is what you should be doing. This is what you shouldn't be doing, all of that. And so I got to learn from that, apply it to the job at the publishing company. And then the conference comes around. I'm like, holy smokes, this is only in Ohio. This is in Cleveland, 5-hour drive from where I was. So I got to go. Absolutely loved it. Soaked in as much as I could. And then the next year, there was a call for speakers, and a few people who I had befriended through the Twitter chat. We had this idea of, well, we're really good community-minded people. We love engaging people, getting them involved, keeping conversations going and everything. What if we banded together and like the four of us just did a presentation on community engagement and how to keep an online community going? So we pitched it to the board, and they're like, yeah, let's do it. We're like, cool. So got to be a speaker that way. The following year, I partnered with another friend of mine, and we did a talk on SEO and Google Analytics and all of that stuff. And then, about 3 or 4 years in a row after that, I got to be a speaker at an international conference. They pulled in people from all over the world at this thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm sure that did quite a bit for your credibility and authority and really.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. To say I was a speaker at an international conference. Heck yeah. It was awesome.
Yeah. That'll do it. So 2 things came to mind as you were talking. One, when you say, like, isn't it funny when you just take those risks? And it's like that Zelda video game sound when a new, talking video game, it like, and something opens up. Like, it's like, wait, I should be doing more of this. I had a recent one. Yeah. And it's funny how these things tie was, are you familiar with the author Brendan Kane by chance?
The name sounds familiar.
Yeah, his book is Hook Point. He wrote another one. It was like 1 to a Million about how he
1 to a Million. That's the one I know. Okay,
in 30 days.
Yep.
Yeah. So I picked up his book because just trying to get my hooks right and see fresh perspective. And he has an email in the intro, and I was like, all right, screw it. So I just emailed. This is like literally this last week, and I was like, hey man, do you want to I know I'm nobody. Like you've done many things, but would you want to be on a podcast, dude? He actually got back.
Right.
Emailed me back. Yeah, it was like 3 a.m. And so I was like, oh, so I sent him some stuff, and we'll see, right? But it's just those funny little things of just going for it.
You don't know unless you try.
You don't know.
You don't know unless you try. Like I my own version of that was on the podcast. This was back in 2017, 18, something like that. A very popular guy kept popping up. His name was JP Spears. Do you recognize the name at all?
No,
If not, it's okay. It was kind of a flash in the pan kind of thing, but he went viral over a YouTube video where it was if meat eaters talk like vegans. And it was so funny. It was fantastic. And as a carnivore, a meat eater myself, I'm like, yes, I love every bit of this. It's awesome. But he legitimately went viral, had a bunch of more videos after that also did really well and all that stuff. And I'm like, this guy's really cool. I would love to have him on the podcast, but I was only maybe 5 episodes in. I didn't have any kind of following or anything. I'm like, shoot my shot. Let's just see. The worst he can say is nothing. Emailed him. He responded back. I had him on the show. And it was an eye opener because it was also an eye opener having him on the show. Cause I'm like, I don't know if I'm getting satirical JP, like the YouTube version or the actual JP. And then, he kept going back and forth on it. I'm like, okay, all right, I got this. But then my other one was, are you familiar with the product Poopery?
Yeah, yeah, I remember when that was a big media blitz too. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yep. A couple years after that, they did a Christmas commercial that had JP Sears in it. And I'm like, oh, this is really cool. I wonder if I could get the spokeswoman, who the woman who was on the commercials, I wonder if I could reach out to her and get her on the podcast. So I reached out to her. I think it was either through LinkedIn or Facebook Messenger, and just said, hey, just saw the Christmas commercial. It looks fantastic. You did a great job. I saw JP Sears was in it. He's really cool. He's been a guest on my podcast before. This is my podcast called Get Shit Done. It kind of plays in with Poopery's product and all of that. I would love to have you, the person, on the show and just talk about your experience of what it was like to do all this stuff. And she responded back and she was on the show. And I'm like, wow. Never in a million years would I thought. I just saw someone on a commercial and I got to reach out to them and have them on my podcast.
That's insane. And she's a multi. She was in some book I read, and she was like a case study of how she changed something or other, right? If I remember correctly.
Yeah, her name is Bethany Woodruff, if I remember right.
That's it. And she went from, what a story. So I actually have to watch. You have to send me that. I'd be really curious to watch. That's
hopefully it's still up somewhere. I'll have to find it.
Well, it's online, right? It's everywhere.
I've got the raw files too. So
yeah. Well, the only thing I'm disappointed then in hearing that, honestly, from you, while that is cool, I'm really disappointed you didn't get the squatty potty guy. That guy was hot for a while.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, we should have.
I know.
Let's bring it back.
Right.
Well, man, amazing. Well, all right. So, dude, all that. Just amazing. And hearing your story, and again, I just see these little threads of what makes you and kind of where your success. So I guess continuing on to that, right? Let's get to a little more into today. You founded Getting Social Done. It's fairly recent, right? Like you founded this company fairly recently. Was it just a couple years ago officially? Is that right?
Yeah, like officially it was January of last year, 2024. I'd been working as like a consultant freelancer off and on during my years in corporate, because after HarperCollins, I went to Amway for a few years and did some social media stuff for them. After the corporate life, I'm like, the corporate got to be a bit too corporate. So I left that. And then that's what prompted me to officially start Get Social Done. I'm like, let's really lean into this. I've been helping people on and off, but let's focus more on that.
Got it. And who do you primarily work with? Who do you work with at Getting Social Done? Get Social Done. I keep saying get.
It's a good question. It's a little bit of everyone, really. I mean, we try to cater to, obviously to the entrepreneurial side, but business owners, startups, entrepreneurs. I've got a business partner. She has her own thing too, but as our joint venture, we're marketing and AI consultants. So we try and help people best understand how they got to where they are right now and the steps that they need to take to get them further.
I see.
Is the best way I can describe it.
Yeah. Well, and I know, again, talking about content, I've seen just, of course, scrolling and seeing it. You do talk a lot about the future, a lot about AI, a lot about what it can do. And I also know part of the company motto that you guys have at Get Social Done, with your corporate experience, it makes sense. Fortune 500 level marketing for the common man, right? For the small business. Mm-hmm. And just hearing you talk to Jason, I'm like, okay, I can see where you could piece together a picture from the outside that someone like me, or a business owner never could. So I think it's really cool you combine all those elements.
Right.
And so I'm curious, right? So cool on the marketing and amazing. You'd be able to really help nail a story and nail that down. In AI, what do you like? How is that? Just being on the forefront, being one of the top marketing experts, just bringing that to small businesses.
It's a wild space. Just because for me, and I try and tell people this too, like AI, as it is right now anyways, AI is just a tool. That's all it is. Mm-hmm. You look at all of the other programs that we have, the Salesforces, the Go High Levels, ClickFunnels, WordPress, all that stuff. It's another tool in the box. Mm-hmm. And there's some people that if you look at their stuff, it's like everything has to be AI everything. Like, no, it doesn't have to be. You don't have to lean on AI so much to be successful. For me, it's a massive time saver, and it's also an ideation machine. Those are probably the two biggest things I use AI for, and I try to instill that in the content and the tips and tricks that I share and all that stuff. So it's like, how can people who may be afraid to use ChatGPT or any of those type, I try to focus on the bigger ones like the Perplexities, GPT, stuff like that. There's a lot of one-off AI stuff that's just it's like a component of GPT or those other large language models, but I just try and keep it more simplistic where because there's still so many people who are afraid of using it. They're like, I don't know how to use it. I don't know if I'm using it correctly. I ask it a question and the response back isn't that great. It's like, okay, let me help you how to use it properly. Building out that first prompt, making sure that you put guardrails in line. Like, okay, I want you to focus, have this hat on. You are my social media expert. I need your help creating a week's worth of content. This is my business. This is my audience. This is what I want to talk about. Talk about XYZ. Don't talk about ABC, and help me draft this out. Do it in a tone that's professional yet friendly and personable. Something along those lines. But showing people what the capabilities could be, what the potential is. That's what I like doing.
Wow. Yeah. And there is a ton of potential. And so creative mind with a background like yours, I could see that being applicable. I'm curious, who are these people that don't know much about AI though? Maybe we just live in our own bubble and we're always, pressing the limits, but that's hard for me to believe. Yeah.
It was for me too, because I'm like, I feel like I'm behind, because a lot of the people that I follow, they're the ones who are like neck deep. I may be waist deep. These people are neck deep. Like, there's all of this stuff. As soon as there's a news thing going on, they're right on it. And I'm like, I'm clearly not at your guys' level. But then I'll do a presentation for a group or an organization. They're like, we haven't even used this before. How do we use this? I'm like, okay. And for me, it's good because it's always a reminder of I am a bit further ahead than other people, not saying that in like an egotistical way, but like I'm a bit further on, and I need that reminder that there are other people who haven't even started yet. So I want to help those people. I want to let them, I want them to realize what the potential is with this stuff. Like, there was one time last year, there was a real estate group that just asked me, hey, how can you present to our group and just show us what AI can do for us? I'm like, absolutely. Let's do some real use case, like in real time, do some examples and demos. And so I fired up GPT and go, what's a common struggle that you have? And someone piped up and said, finding buyers in this area. Like, okay, let's have ChatGPT do that. And like 3 or 4 prompts later, I had a way where they can streamline their prospecting process. And they're looking at that going, I never would have thought of that. That's brilliant. I'm like, and that took us less than 5 minutes to do. And you can take this and keep this conversation going over and over again and get even more ideas and all that. Another one last year, a restaurant chain down in Louisiana hired me to be a keynote for their franchisee event. They wanted to know how AI could help the corporate level as well as the franchisee level people. I'm like, absolutely, let's do this. At the time, I didn't really know how it could help them, so I had to do some digging. But I wanted to be the person to help them because, again, I love helping people. So this was shortly after AI could start reading documents. You could upload documents and have it read the information on it, and then literally have a conversation with the AI about those numbers. And so I asked them, what information would you be willing to give me? I'm not going to ask for something directly, but they said, we'll give you last quarter's expenses and revenue. So all of the food we sold, all of the labor costs and all of that stuff. I'm like, fantastic. I'll make that work. Uploaded it into AI. I was using Claude extensively at the time. So I uploaded it there and said, hey, based off of these 2 spreadsheets, I need you to be my expert world-class business consultant. And based off this data here, give me the 5 most prioritized areas where we can optimize business processes, increase sales, reduce costs, and all of that stuff. And about a minute later, it goes, here's 5 areas right here that we identified. 3 of them we found out were about the morning shift work. There's too much labor to justify the sales. So I said, okay, let's take that a level deeper. Give me 10 ideas on how we can improve this business process to either cut the labor costs that justify the sales or help increase sales, and help me come up with some ideas. 2 seconds later, it's like, here's 10 ideas. I'm like, that's pretty cool. Bring it back to the corporate side and go, what do you guys think of? Not to saying that these are all answers, like if you implement these, they will succeed, but just what do you think of these ideas? And they go, we wouldn't have thought of those, but they definitely make sense. We're going to be trying some of those. I'm like, yeah, AI helped me come up with that.
Wow. So back to ideation. Well, it's funny, man. You spend a lot of time pushing Bibles and you're kind of the middleman that way. And in some ways, that's kind of where it is now. You're like, hey, let me show you how I can show you the Oracle test better. And not everybody can make it to the monastery, right? That's why some of the monks have to come down and live among us normal folks and show the way. And that's
right. Bring it to them sometimes.
That's right. Well, it looks like that is what you do. And obviously, back to the speaking part, right? You do it very well, man. It's really cool to hear all the use cases. And I'm sure it's bottomless. Yeah, it would be really fun to dive in. And you do also talk about ADHD as a superpower. And I know you've referenced it a little bit. And I think a lot of them out there, a lot of people who are looking to get free, a lot of people I work with a lot of visionaries who also state that, man, I just want to go. I just want to go forward, right? And I think it's really cool seeing the forward moving parts of you all align, and helping business owners get to that end. So I know we're kind of coming close to the end of the hour. And what I want to do here, I just want to skip ahead a little bit on a few things. And I just have a few quick hitter questions for you, if it's all right. I want to put you on the spot and just ask you a few things about you and about, some things that may help. First thing, if you're at home and you're listening, you're saying, wow, there's some cool AI applications. I got to use it. I hear ideation, I hear the use of, but what's the number one thing they could do right now that might change their life? Some prompt, something that you might say, hey, try this out.
The two biggest ones I tell everyone is this one came from my good friend, Jonathan Mast. He's an AI influencer, and I don't use the term influencer lightly. As a social media guy, I'm like, I'm calling you this because you legitimately are. He has what he calls the perfect prompting framework, which is basically the first prompt you give AI is going to set the tone for the rest of that chat. And it breaks down into its role, context, and then ask. So how that breaks down is, let's bring the social media content calendar thing back. So what I would do is I would start off by saying, I want you to act as my social media expert. So again, you're already giving it a role, so it kind of knows what lane to stay in. So it's not going off and trying to pull in other stuff. And then I give it the scenario, like I am this business. I have this audience. This is my offer, or this is what I'm trying to talk about. So like, and the more detail and context you give it, the better. And then after that, you give it the ask. I want you to build out a week's worth of content for me. And then the fourth part of that, the ask, is you say, ask me any clarifying questions before proceeding, because this now allows AI to ask you additional questions to give you a chance to give it more context and detail before it gives you what you asked it to do. More detail and more context means a better output and response. So that's the first one I always tell people. And then the next one is, after you get that response, there's another powerful follow-up that I love using. It's called critique the above. So you answer the questions, it gives you the response or the output, and then you literally tell it, critique the above, because now you're giving AI the green light to literally critique its own response and tell you what strengths it has, where there's weaknesses, and how it can improve it. And then from there, you can tell it to, just go apply those optimizations and then give me back the now improved output. And it's been phenomenal.
Fantastic. Yeah. So it's like you're getting an independent auditor to come back and look over the work and then actually make changes. Yeah. No, I like that. Well, to the marketing and content side, next fast fire question for you. If you are at home and you need leads now, you get the idea of content, but you're just like, man, every time I post, nothing happens. What do you say to that person? What do we do in the content world to ensure that we're actually getting forward movement?
Yep. So if you have content, if you're posting it on your own platforms and you're not getting any traction, go find groups, whether it's on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, X, TikTok, whatever. Find other people who are talking about it, who are talking to that audience that you want to get in front of, and just engage. Be an active member to it. Not to a sense where you're talking about like your own offer. Like, don't try and sell in their platform. You can, but that's like slimy sales stuff. Don't do that. But you can go into Facebook groups and LinkedIn groups and things like that, where people are constantly asking questions, and then you can be the expert answering those questions, giving them, basically you get to show off your knowledge and your wisdom. And then over time, you start to build that trust to the point where they just start coming to you directly. Hey, I have a question on this. And then, from there, they see you in the groups. Like, this guy seems to really know his stuff. I'm going to go check him out. They go see your personal page, and all of a sudden they see all the rest of your other content talking about the stuff that you know a lot about that helps them. And then you start building an audience that way.
Gotcha. It's the honey trapping them. All right.
Pretty much. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful. Okay. That's a really good tip. That one, that's going to be a short form. Beautiful. Well, final question. So I want you to, just like we're going to program AI, right? We're going to use your thing and say, hey, you're an expert in this. So Jason, you're going to make an avatar in your mind of your mom, your kids, your family, your best friend, everyone who cares about Jason. And if I were to ask them, what is the superpower of Jason? What makes Jason? What would they say?
That is a really good question. I'd like to think anyways, that if you ask all those people, what makes me me? I can sum it up in probably what my wife tells most people is that around me, there's never strangers, just friends I haven't made yet. Because whether if I'm at networking events, I'll talk to people that I want to talk to and friends and all that stuff. But if I see someone like off in the corner who I've kind of kept a passive eye on, they haven't engaged with anyone, I'm going to go up and talk to them and just be like, hey, how's it going? Just try and ease them into it and try and do it that, like, not with the intention of being their friend and stuff, but it's like, you're here for a reason. I don't think you're getting that value or that reason out of it. So like, let me help you get started.
So sliding people in. All right. So that's the same that you do in AI for business owners. And that's the same you do in going out to groups with that tip and bringing them in. So a connector. And look,
I'm very much a connector. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and a siphoner and a innovator and a forward mover and all of those things, like the way you said it. So back to your wife, and you'll have to say, I definitely feel like I've known you for a long time, and I feel the friends. I'm sure anybody that meets you, they feel the same as me. So look, Jason, we are at the end of time, and hey, cannot thank you enough. Thank you for taking this hour and sharing your wisdom with us on this Friday. Really appreciate you, and we'll have to do it again sometime, and definitely have to keep in touch. So really appreciate it.
I would love that. Yeah. I would love that, man. This has been absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for having me on here. These have been fantastic questions. So thank you.
Yeah, man. Well, glad so. And for you at home, hopefully learn something today. And if you want to reach out to Jason, how can they get a hold of you and stalk your content on your profile?
The easiest way, I'm most active on Facebook, but I'm on all the socials, Jason Schemmel, or find me on my website, getsocialdone.com.
All right. Perfect. Well, definitely get it, Jason. Thanks again for the value. We really appreciate you. And for those at home, thanks again. We'll see you on the next episode of Free the Founder.
Bye, everyone.